Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Ashe, good to see you. I have so many questions for you that I could spend the next 3 days asking you questions. So we're going to submit a number for the record, and if you can try to answer these succinctly, that'd be helpful, so we can get through at least a couple in the 5 minutes that I have. First, I just want to talk about the Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act. Are you familiar with ANILCA?
I am.
Great. There's a lot of Alaskans who actually don't think your agency is that familiar with ANILCA because there's a strong sense in my state that your agency continually violates that important act. And to Senator Whitehouse's comments, I'll tell you this, today's hearing, but more your actions, would bring great dismay to one of Alaska's great predecessors in the U.S. Senate, Ted Stevens, who crafted ANILCA, knew it was a finely crafted balance, and yet it's being ignored by your agency, I think, on a daily basis. Let me give you the latest example. The President's recent announcements on the 1002 area of ANWR. As you know, the coastal area of ANWR, the 1002 area of ANWR, very important place, laid out in ANILCA, whole chapters on it in ANILCA, and critical that the Federal Government was tasked with either looking at developing it for oil and gas, looking at the resources there, recommendations to Congress, or perhaps someday making it a wilderness. But do you think that there's any other branch of government in the Federal Government that has the power to either develop the 1002 area for oil and gas or make it a wilderness besides this body, Congress?
No, I do not.
Okay, so then how can the President of the United States a couple months ago say he's going to submit a bill to make the 1002 area wilderness, which is fine, he has the right to do that. It's got to be approved here, it won't go anywhere. But then in the meantime say, I'm going to, quote, manage the 1002 area for wilderness anyways. That's what he said on Air Force One to big fanfare. How can he manage the 1002 area for wilderness when you don't have the authority to do that? Can you explain that to me? This is a huge issue for my state. And I think you're violating the law. I think the President's violating the law. How do you do that?
What we have said.
How do you manage? No, this is.
We have order. We have order already.
Let him answer the question.
All right, stop the clock and give him a few more, at least one more minute. All right.
How do you manage the 1002 area for wilderness when you don't have the authority to designate wilderness the 1002 area? Go read ANILCA. There's not a lawyer in this town who thinks your agency has this authority.
Well, there are lawyers in the Interior Department who agree very much. Mr. Sullivan, we are managing the 1002 area as we are managing it today for what we call minimal management.
No agency, Republican or Democrat, has ever said they're going to manage the 1002 area for wilderness with the exception of yours. First time ever.
We are managing the 1002 area to protect the wilderness value that is represented there. That's our duty.
Let me ask a question, a follow-up question. If there's a president in 2017, he's a Republican, he submits legislation to develop the 1002 area for oil and gas development. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a tough issue. Can that president say it's President Cruz, President Rubio, President Paul? Can that president say, I'm now going to, quote, manage the 1002 area for oil and gas development?
We have produced a comprehensive conservation plan.
No, just can you answer that question?
The President we would have to change our conservation plan. We have gone through the lawful administrative process of developing a comprehensive plan.
Not if you're designating 1002 as wilderness without congressional approval.
We have a comprehensive conservation plan for the management of the refuge, which has been developed through a public process.
Can a president in 2017 manage the 1002 area for oil and gas, even through a comprehensive management plan?
No.
Can a president now manage 1002 area for wilderness?
The President
The answer has to be no, if you said no to the other question.
The President is not managing.
He said he was going to manage, the President said he was going to manage the 1002 area for wilderness.
The President.
He doesn't have the authority to do that.
The United States Fish and Wildlife Service is managing the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
No, the 1002 area is different. Look at
No.
Anilka.
The 1002 area is part of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. The law, it makes no distinction between the 1002 area and the
It
remainder
makes
of
a
the refuge.
huge distinction. There's an entire chapter called the 1002 chapter in Anilka. That's why it's called the 1002 area. There's a
called
gigantic distinction.
The 1002
Director Ashe, I think that your agency has been violating the law. I have so many other questions, Mr. Chairman. We'll submit them for the record, but this is incredibly disturbing and a whole host of different Anilka sections. I'm going to ask one more question, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, Senator Sullivan, you have another good minute because you were interrupted. Please go ahead.
So in Alaska, there's a provision, what we believe is the, quote, no more provision of Anilka. Do you believe that that exists?
It does exist.
Okay, and so the no more clause says there should be, that Anilka, according to Ted Stevens and others, was a finely balanced designation. We have almost 60 million acres of wilderness. We have state parks that are bigger than Rhode Island, individual state parks. We have a lot of wilderness. We love our wilderness, but we don't think there should be any more, and neither did the Congress. Do you think that there can be any more wilderness, managed, designated, or otherwise, without the express permission of this body?
There can be no designated wilderness without congressional action.
Then how can the President of the United States say he's going to manage the 1002 area for wilderness?
The
He's
president,
not, he can't.
The President has said the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is going to manage the refuge to protect the wilderness value that resides there. We have ample authority to manage the refuge in a way that preserves and protects its wilderness character. That does not mean it's congressionally designated wilderness, and we have gone through a lawful administrative
Are
process.
you familiar with 1002E of Anilka?
Not the number, no.
That's the one that says there are exploration plans that have to be approved by the Secretary in the 1002 area. The state of Alaska put together an exploration plan under that provision. You rejected it. Why wouldn't you want to work with the state of Alaska on a plan like this? Mr. Chairman, I will submit the additional questions I have for the record.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Senator.